All right, it's that time again. It's Malcontented Minutes. Let me explain to you how Malcontented Minute works. It's one of my favorite parts of the show. Jennifer and I have 5 stories each, total of 10 stories. We have 60 seconds to talk about the story, 60-ish seconds to unpack the story, and then we move on to the next one. And this is also audience participation because you get to control the news. What you get to do is get to vote after we do the 10 stories on the story you want us to talk more about at the end of the show. Mods and admins, drop that link into the poll, to the poll. Malcontent, don't go and vote yet because we haven't done the stories yet, so you don't know which story to vote for. We will call out when we're going, hey, we'll let you know when it's time to really dive in. We'll let you know when polls are getting ready to close. And mods and admins will let us know the winning story. This is also another good time to remind you, please spam those hearts. Spam those hearts. Let those mods admins know that you love and appreciate all the hard work that they're doing. If you are watching us on Facebook, please do a share or a watch party. If you're watching us on Twitter or Periscope, please do a retweet. If you're watching us on Twitter or Twitch or YouTube, please go, hey, cool content. You should be watching this. And Jennifer's lighting's a lot better now. Yeah, Jennifer, are you ready to do this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's bullet. Story number 1. Charlotte Newman, a senior manager at Amazon, is suing the company for racial discrimination and sexual harassment. Newman alleged she interviewed for a job at level 8 with AWS, that's high level. She was hired at level 7. The practice called de-leveling is said to be a common practice within Amazon. The suit claims in part that this practice is applied more to Black and Latinx employees. She was told by her manager, Stephen Block, that she is, quote unquote, too direct, an interesting comment at the start of Women's Month, and, quote unquote, scary. Block wasn't available for comment. She also alleges former AWS employee Andres Maz groped her and pulled her hair. Newman also detailed how she spoke up with concerns about the risk of selling Amazon's facial recognition software to law enforcement, and in part because it's a piece of shit at recognizing Black people. Her concerns were rebuffed. She also noted that Black Amazon employees sent an internal letter to Amazon executives expressing dismay that the company's general counsel, David Zablonsky, had used racially offensive language to describe a Black warehouse worker who was trying to unionize an Amazon fulfillment center. Hey, Jennifer, do you know why Jeff Bezos got a divorce?
Because he's a misogynistic asshole and cheating on his wife.
Because he heard it was a union. You get about 50 seconds to unpack that story. Wow, did I miss?
Did he really say she was too direct and scary? That sounds like a very scared white man to me who doesn't like the idea of women in power. I run into those a lot. And then if you embrace the whole like scary, and scary, I'm assuming she's an African-American woman, the scary Black woman trope, as a way in which to justify de-leveling her. It's absolutely disgusting. The fact that there's still women within these predominantly male industries that are having to deal with this kind of discrimination and sexual harassment on top of it is appalling. It is 2021. People need to get their shit together. And that's all I have to say about that.
All right. Got your water. Story 2.
Okay. Moving on. So it was Deb Haaland's confirmation week. You know, Haaland, of course, is the first Native American woman to be potentially promoted to a cabinet position at the Department of the Interior, which is huge because, of course, the Department of Interior runs the Bureau of Indian Affairs. So there was a lot of Republican pushback on Deb Haaland's nomination because they think she is, quote, too radical to manage natural resources, federal lands, and programs related to the country's indigenous communities. She's too radical as an indigenous woman to oversee programs related to indigenous communities. Does anyone realize how absolutely outrageous that sounds? But multiple surveys and polls show that GOP lawmakers are largely out of the mainstream on where many Americans stand on environmental issues. So rather than celebrate her nomination and recognize the, historicity of it, they turned it into basically a discussion on fossil fuels and then used that to lambaste her and her radical liberal wing views.
Hallelujah! Holy shit!
Yeah, that's that button kind of just sums it up. And Jennifer, I think you nailed it on the head. It is stunning that it could even be suggested that an indigenous person with the credentials that she has is too radical to be oversee, among other things, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, of which I have said many times makes things like the Department of Education in HUD look incredibly well run in comparison. It's what they're it's not. I hate saying because you don't know. You're waiting for me to get to my flipping point, audience. This all just comes down to we want unfettered access to gas, oil, mining, and we don't want to pay for it. And that's what it all just comes down to. I would have a lot more to unpack on that story with a lot of F-bombs. But I need to move on to story number 3. Story number 3 takes us to Tulsa, Oklahoma. On February 26th, Tulsa police got a 911 call about a person attempting to break into a home. The home was occupied. Person was trying to come through a window. Woman inside called 911, said she's by herself with 2 small children and somebody is climbing through the window right now. Startled the person came back. Tulsa police got there actually pretty quick. They found window jimmy open and the screen removed. And then they found one Miss Sharon Carr in the yard. At first, they detained her before making the arrest. Carr went from detained to arrested when police found an open Cheeto bag and an empty bottle of water just outside the window. Carr's face and teeth were covered with Cheeto dust. She was also identified by the homeowner as the person that was climbing through their window. It's not easy being cheesy. Jennifer, you get 60 seconds.
2 things. This is why I'm vegan, because I never get Cheeto dust on my fingers. Thank you very much. So I can commit all the crimes I want. I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. Also, pick up your litter if you're, I guess, going to rob a house and maybe use some of that bottle of water to wash the Cheeto dust off your face and hands. I don't know, but that just seems like a really poorly conceived crime.
I'm too OCD to go around with, and I know some people are like, you're not OCD, and I'm not saying it to minimize people with real OCD problems, but I freely admit I have tics. Trust me, if you ever saw me put ketchup on a French fry, you would go, okay, you are a little OCD, David. I'm going to give it to you. I would never go around with Cheeto dust on my face or hands. My brain would melt.
Yes. Yeah. So anyways, that was absolutely ridiculous. But moving on to Florida, because Florida is the gift that keeps on giving, right? So a Florida man around Valentine's Day stole an engagement ring and wedding bands from his girlfriend and used them to propose to his other girlfriend, according to authorities. Volusia County Sheriff's deputies said they've issued an arrest warrant for Joseph Davis, 48, who had not been found as of last Saturday. Their investigation started earlier this year when a woman from Orange City, Florida, told detectives she had discovered her boyfriend was actually engaged to someone else. When she looked up the fiance's Facebook page, she noticed a photo of her wearing a wedding band and engagement ring that was identical to her own from a prior marriage, the sheriff's office said in a news release. So the Orange City woman reached out to this fiance now, who returned some of the items, and they both called it off with Davis, who also went by the names Joe Brown and Marcus Brown, because he can't even figure out a creative alternate name for himself. Davis actually once took the fiance to a house that actually belonged to his other girlfriend while she was at work. And he asked the fiance to move in with him into that home. Oh my God, these people are insane. So Davis has an active arrest warrant for a hit-and-run crash with injuries in Oregon, and previously had been arrested for possession of fictitious ID, filing a false police report, domestic assault, possession of cocaine with intent to sell, and he has a tattoo on his left arm that says, quote, "Only God can judge me."
I like it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Only God can judge me.
Oh my goodness gracious. There's so much to unpack there. And Jennifer, you couldn't see the comments going by as you were saying. This is why I'm falling apart. Because some of the comments were amazing. Arky from the Juniper system says this isn't how you do poly. I just want to know, is he going to take her to his liberal love palace?
Oh, it's Liberal Freedom Palace.
Freedom Palace. That's right.
Jesus,
You'll have to go to another show to know what we're talking about on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to move on. You think I get on my soapbox? I'm really getting on my soapbox for this story.
Woo.
Republicans want a free market economy. Remove from regulations, and Texas took extraordinary steps to make sure that happened with their electric grid. When the power grid collapsed and spot market costs for electricity skyrocketed levels that would make Ann Rand blush with admiration. The perfect free market results of survival of the fittest is happening now in Texas. Electrical retailers are declaring bankruptcy and not accepting new customers. Some Texas households received electric bills for February of $17,000. Now, did Texas stay true to their free market rules they cherish so much? Oh, no. Among the socialist, communist, Marxist, Antifa, they're coming for your guns and make you gay measures taken. They're preventing utilities from turning off power for those who will not or cannot pay their now ridiculously high electric bills. They are moving to sue retailers that sent out high electric bills, despite the bills being legal by Texas state law and within the guidelines of the contracts that the customers signed in a free market economy. We're not begrudging the state stepping in to take these actions. I'm just calling out the hypocrisy of it, Jennifer. And just like Texas Governor Abbott, for state aid on the $1.9 trillion recovery, see, he kept quiet about it being unfair while 22 other Republican governors are upset about it. You know why Abbott's quiet about it? Because his state is benefiting from more money. You get 44 seconds, Jennifer, to unpack this steaming dog turd of a story.
So I have some friends from Texas and I love them dearly, but I'm just going to say this as a historian, it might have been better to just let them stay the Republic of Texas rather than annexing them back into the nation. Because they clearly, clearly function like, I don't even know what to say about this. And I'd read the story last week about somebody receiving a $17,000 power bill, which is absolutely insane. And I'd also seen stories about during the snowstorm, hotel rooms, the prices being like astronomical and raised because of the snowstorm. And Texas had to actually intervene and say, no, you can't do this during this like emergency. So the fact that, Texas is all about, free markets, pull yourself up by your bootstraps bullshit that clearly doesn't work. We know trickle down doesn't work. Is just, the irony is fantastic. Historians love irony, by the way.
After your sip of water, you go to story number 6. Jennifer has demonstrated good hydration tonight.
Yes, because I haven't been doing that. I drank a ton of coffee today. So on to Governor Cuomo. 2 former aides have now came forward with sexual harassment allegations against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo acknowledged in a statement Sunday evening that some of his behavior toward his staff may have been, quote, insensitive, but said his comments had been, quote, misinterpreted as an unwanted flirtation, end quote. Okay. On Sunday, Cuomo asked New York Attorney General and state's chief judge to pick an independent investigator to review the accusations against him. I never intended to offend anyone or cause any harm, he said, adding that he teased people about their, quote, personal lives, their relationships, about getting or not getting married, as an attempt to, quote, add some levity to his workplace. The latest allegations were brought by Charlotte Bennett, 25, who worked as an executive assistant and health policy advisor for Cuomo until leaving his administration in November. Lindsay Boylan was the first aide to make allegations against Cuomo. Bennett has spoken out on social media in support of Boylan. In regards to Boylan, Cuomo said her statements are just, quote, not true.
Fake news.
Yeah.
I say that sarcastically, Malcontent. His career is over. Jennifer, in the comments, they're saying a third woman has come forward, basically in the time that we're preparing on the show.
Wow.
Somebody put the comment, there's now a third woman as of a couple of hours ago. Shocked, I tell you, shocked.
Yeah.
A self-righteous politician who's a hypocrite?
Yeah.
No, it can't be true. Yes, we are equal opportunity politician bashers here on Malcontent News. Yep,
Yeah.
Juds.
Yeah.
Yep. But the same thing. We're not going to slob the knob of our candidates like you do. When they screw up, we're going to say they screwed up.
Yeah. Can you imagine how awkward this has to be for Chris Cuomo to have to have CNN report on his brother, harassing people?
It's just all of it. It's just gross.
Yeah.
It's just friggin' gross. I'm not to the point of dude, resign, but his political career is over. That is for sure. And before I jump into stories number 7, Malcontent, mods admins, go ahead and drop the link into the comments. We're not to story number 10 yet, but you get to control the news. If you're coming in late and you're going, what's going on? I don't know, I got these two people who are talking about news stories. They hate Republicans, they hate Democrats, they hate everybody. Nothing but a bunch of hate here. Not true. With that said, though, you get to control the news because you get to vote on the story that you want us to talk more about at the end of the show. Mods and admins, drop that link. However, we've got a few more stories to go. And with that, I'm going to start the timer for story number 7. Story number 7 is making me all verklempt. The story is about a mensch. Her name is Lindsay Sobel. As part of her work towards her bat mitzvah, for a girl, it's a bat. For a boy, it's a ba. She must commit a tikkun olam, an act of repairing the world. And for her work, she launched Shoes for Souls. That is SOLES. So Shoes for Souls. Website is shoesforsouls.com. Her charity collects and distributes shoes for Californian in need. Since she created the organization 3 years ago, her organization has rehomed over 30,000 pairs of new and gently used footwear to the unhomed in LA County and beyond. She went on to say, shoes are such a simple thing, but the repercussions of not having them can impact everything from health to mobility to the possibility of looking for work. That one pair of shoes could change someone's life. Sobel told a local California TV station, her father, David, had this to say, it's just something really special. It's Lindsay being Lindsay. She always had that soft spot in her heart, and I think Lindsay knows what she is creating has real impact. Jennifer, I'm verklempt. Talk amongst yourself about this one for another 50 seconds. I'm a Jew. I'm allowed these jokes.
Yes. I know that's such a great feel-good story, and we often talk about the difference between altruism and people pretending they're doing altruism, but when they're really just doing self-serving acts. This is a genuinely great story because she's not wrong. Having a good pair of shoes is so impactful for so many people, and a lot of people can't afford basic necessities like shoes. And shoes, I'm sorry, are a necessity. Maybe not like the fancy ones I'm wearing right now, but actual just walking around and having a pair of shoes and being able to go places and be comfortable and mobility and all of these things is so essential. So to actually go and do that, I think it's a wonderful story. You did well, David.
One of our malcontents is commenting that it must be a slow news week. And actually, the answer to that is yes, it is. And Jennifer and I are relishing in it after the chaos of about 3 months. Jennifer, take us to story number 8.
I know a lot. I don't know how a lot of I've talked about her before and the ways in which basically Great Britain and the paparazzi or, press, the tabloids over there have treated her. But I'm very excited actually that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are expecting their second child. Markle, of course, was very open about her miscarriage last year, and how that impacted her. And so to be able to take something that tragic and share that publicly and support other women, I think is wonderful. And now that they're having a second child, which was announced on Valentine's Day, I think that's a really great thing. So yes, Archie Mountbatten Windsor, who turned one last May, is, about to become a big brother. And so Buckingham Palace spokesman said the Queen, Duke of Edinburgh, Prince of Wales, and the rest of the royal family are delighted and wish them well. Harry and Meghan shared a black and white picture of themselves under a tree with Harry resting his hand on Meghan's head as she cradles her bump. The child will actually be 8th in line to the throne. Her due date has not been revealed, but she looks to be fairly far along. The news comes after, again, she said in November that she suffered a miscarriage last July. And she wrote in a very public, she wrote and published an article about the unbearable grief that she suffered as a result, and just how excited they are to be able to welcome another child. What is with that?
Jennifer, I've explained this before to our audience. So first of all, why the hat? On Twitch, somebody did the hat challenge. So I have to wear the hat for 5 minutes because of the hat challenge. So the hat is on. I'm always going to say when people are like, why are you guys talking about this? One, the demographic information that we have from Google Analytics, scary stuff, Google Analytics, actually says a lot of you like stories like this. And here's the other thing. I was like a ball of Jell-O sad yesterday, and my guilty pleasure came on, 90 Days Fiancé. And boy, what a mood lifter that was, because I got to watch almost 2 hours of people whose lives are incredibly shittier than mine. So,
yeah,
I'm happy for them.
Yes,
I'm happy. I am. I'm happy for them.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Story number 9 with the hat. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints issued a statement Saturday as U.S. Congress passed the bill regarding equality for the LGBTQ community. The church responded to House Measure 5, which was passed on Thursday, still has to go to the Senate. The bill's purpose is to, quote, prohibit discrimination of the basics of sex, gender, identity, sexual orientation for other purposes. More specifically, it seeks to expand as well as clarify, confirm, and create greater consistency in the protections and remedies against discrimination, and to provide guidance and notice to individuals, organizations, corporations, and agencies regarding their obligation under the law. In response, the church reiterated its support of legislation that protects LGBTQ plus people, as well as protecting some religious freedoms. Both are possible and clearly required in a just society, church spokesperson Doug Anderson wrote. The church also cited in its previous statement made in 2019 on a version of the Equality Act being considered at the time. In that version, the church claimed that protecting religious freedom was not being addressed. So it's a little bit of a squint to say it's a full endorsement, but I think we can call it progress for the LGBTQ community. Jennifer, I only gave you about 30 seconds to unpack it.
That's okay. I feel like, yeah, it's great when people say things like this, but it's actually, lip service versus putting things in practice. And so I feel like, a lot of these churches are coming out now and giving lukewarm support as a way in which to not alienate the people who fund their endeavors. And so, yeah, I do think it's progress, give credit where credit is due, but until they actually put this stuff into action, I'll remain slightly skeptical. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Oh, God.
I feel like you're throwing stuff at me and I take a little offense at it.
No, it's not you. I said that somebody in the comments, gosh darn it, I said I put it on mute just for a second because I didn't want to hear people hear me crumpling up the paper as you were talking, and I never took it off. I was saying in the comments, somebody had made this statement that the show that we should be watching is My Strange Addiction. And I said I had watched that show, but for me, it became I'm out when the episode about the guy who has sex with his car. That was it. Yeah. I was done. Yeah. I'm out. You're doing poly. All wrong, dude. I'm out.
Or the lady that ate her husband's ashes. I was like, what is even going on here? I couldn't even. Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did his soul get trapped inside of her? And did they have to go to Scotland to see Chef's parents? Never mind. It's the whole South Park episode. Jennifer, move us on to our last story. Save us from the insanity.
Okay, so one of the country's largest adoption and foster care agencies, Bethany Christian Services, announced on Monday that it would begin providing services to LGBTQ plus parents nationwide, effective immediately. This is a major shift, as they had opposed for very long, working with LGBTQ plus parents in the past. Bethany is a Michigan-based evangelical organization, and in an email signed by Chris Paluski, the organization's president and chief executive, he stated, quote, "We will now offer services with love and compassion of Jesus to the many types of families who exist in our world today," end quote. Mr. Paluski also wrote, "We're taking an all-hands-on-deck approach where all are welcome." The announcement is a significant departure for the 77-year-old organization, which is the largest Protestant adoption and foster agency in the United States. Bethany facilitated 3,406 foster placements and 1,123 adoptions in 2019 and has offices in 32 states. The organization also works in refugee placement and offers other services related to child and family welfare. Previously openly gay, prospective, foster, and adoptive parents in most states were referred to other agencies. And the decision comes amid several cultural and legal battles that feature questions about sexuality, religious freedom, parenthood, family structure, and traditional gender roles.
So here's my view on this. I think this is great news, just as the statement that came out of the Mormon church. I think both of these are great news, but this is why we are seeing such rhetoric from the political right. They are terrified of this change. And what I think is happening is regular Americans, the percentage of people who are like, I don't want to pay attention to these stories. It's too much. I'm overwhelmed. I don't want to hear it anymore. And they think that there's real progress going on. But the reality is, as we learned on January 6th, our democracy is so fragile, and they're laying the foundation to try and break this down, regardless of these progresses being made. Wake up, support these communities, and vote these fuckers out.
F-bomb? This is written. This is written.
Okay, Malcontents, that was story number 10. Mods admins, go ahead and drop the link to the poll. This is where you get to control what Jennifer and I do. We're giving it up. We're giving it to you. You get to vote on the story that you want us to talk about more. And the polls are open. And I think we can unpack almost every story that we had there. I don't know about Cheeto dust. With that, Jennifer, we'll do a brief little pause for the cause, and we'll go to our next segment.
Okay.
Black Coffee is a hub for communities and a hub for meeting people, making friends, and understanding.
What Black Coffee is to me is a place to actually call home, a place where Black youth will feel welcomed, where Black families will come and feel like they're at home.
What we're trying to build is more than just coffee. Community is something that we do naturally. We know who's in the community, we know what the deficits are, and we're trying to fix that. We want to bring people together.
My hope is that the phrase grounded in excellence shows up everywhere and that it becomes a movement.
I'm looking forward to hanging out at Black Coffee with my friends and feeling safe.
Black Coffee to me means opportunity for people like me and my other friends and family to come here and do homework safely and hang out and stuff like that.
That is happening. It is happening.
Black Coffee Northwest, located in Shoreline on Highway 99 on the west side between 170th and 180th. Their coffee is amazing. It comes from Africa. They have spectacular merch, and this show wouldn't be complete if I didn't do a big fat shout out for the potato scones. The potato scones, food of the gods. It is like a scone and a baked potato with cheese, onion had a baby, and it's magnificent, and you should go get one.